Do you have trucks that you're going to work on a lot? You're going to want to drive in bay, right? And so those are some things that you don't want to limit yourself. You want to think about the end of the lease and where your goals are. And is this place going to work for me? Or work out a shorter lease.
And one of the best advices that were given to me from a mentor of mine said, you want your warehouse to pay for your office staff and your sales staff. Let's say that works out to be Welcome back to Movified. I'm your host, Mark Hirschi, owner of Salmon's Moving and Storage, located in beautiful Vancouver, British Columbia, and it is Movified Wednesdays. Mr. Steven Reed, my co-host, my companionio.
Brought the background today, since you're not. You're out of the studio. So
I'm out of the studio. I'm trying to do it remotely here. I'm juggling. It's been an interesting couple of weeks. So I'm trying to give my new setup a whirlwind, testing out some mics, testing out the cameras, making sure it all works. I see there's going to be still a bit of tweaking going on in here, but we'll make it work. So Steven Reed with ReadyRolls.com, your VA answer to all needs necessary. If you don't have a VA, go check out ReadyRolls.com/Movified. And Big League Movers out in Memphis, Tennessee.
Memphis. I got my ACs back. We're rolling today.
You're rolling. You look like you were just sweating last week.
It was an intense episode.
It's
what an episode, by the way. I mean, what an
episode. Yeah. It really always, it's always sad when a tragic event has to occur or some big necessary situation in your life has to occur for a reality check. And we see that a lot. We talked about it on the show. Longtime operations manager leaves, your office manager, your right-hand salesperson, some solid drivers, those factors are all the time in the moving industry where it's that reality check. And when something happens to you, typically when you set up to go, hey, okay, I'm going on vacation, right? Like we're going on vacation. We're making this happen. You are trying to cross the T's, you're trying to dot the I's. You are paranoid as hell to make sure that everything is going to run smooth while you're gone. But when it comes unexpectedly, you better make sure that things are running smoothly and that you have the right people in place. And we saw this with 6-man movers out in Nashville. Jacob Greer, if you haven't listened to the episode, make sure you check it out. It's a great reality check for all of us. And it really kind of brings me into not even the main topic we want to talk about right now, but I had a conversation with another moving company owner. You might know him, Austin Yarborough. Central Coast and Pearson's Moving. We know it. He's got the moving army going on. And I had this conversation, a hard one with them saying, I'm acquiring this new moving company. They are a 45-year-old moving company. We just acquired them, and their operations manager, been there for 8 years, knows everything. Like I could see it in the eyes of, the older couple that own it, that are trying to get out. Like everything is them. Like everything is him, right? This operations manager, all the emails go to him. He knows what's going on. Everything is being done. And none of this procedures were actually really documented because they just relied on their ops guy to handle it all. And he did dispatch as well too. And here I am about to fire him. I don't see him coming on to evolving. I don't see him evolving. A conversation got brought up saying, hey, we're going to start hitting up a bunch more corporate accounts. We want to get into more office moving. Like, let's really hit the steam running, especially as we go into fall. Let's make sure we're diversified. Let's not just heavily rely on the local COD market. And, his answers were, we're not set up for that. I don't think we're prepared for that. Oh, I don't, it was just, there was a lot of negativity coming into place that I was catching on very quickly as we were about to take over. And so not his vision, not where we want to see the company. And you have to see that. And we hear about it all the time, right? Fire fast, hire slowly. And that was exactly the situation. So I had to sit them down, have a hard conversation with them. But as business owners, and I took that time to sleep on it because I was very nervous in the situation. And it came on me where I realized I do enjoy, I'm at this point in my life and in my career and the young family that I like the comfortability of having people that know what they're doing so I don't have to start learning it again. To me, my brain is already so full with everything going on that for me to go back to square one, it's a very like anxiety, nervousness. Do I still have it? Can I still get my hands dirty? Because
That
I'm
natural feeling. Yeah, natural.
so far ahead that I don't want to go back. I feel like I'm too inundated with too many things to go, oh wow. So having this conversation with Austin, and he reminded me, he goes, in life, sometimes, especially as business owners, it's important for us to go back to chapter one. We need to rewrite that story. And it really made me dawn on it. I sat on it for a while and I realized, man, when I had Action Movers, I started from chapter one again, grew it to, the 10th and 11th chapter. Like it was moving, we were almost at the end when I was selling the company and it was great. When I purchased Salmons, man, we were already on volume 2, 3, and 4. All right. It was more just going in there and going, hey, okay, choose your own adventure. We're going to kind of go back a couple of chapters just to revisit, but hey, we're ready to get a feature film in place. With Ellis, my which is the new company I just recently purchased, the thought of having to go right back to chapter one to really get your hands dirty, new CRM system that we're implementing. We are learning all the customers. We're figuring out the storage clients. We are figuring out how the warehouse is operating, what's happening. I already this morning had one of their interior design companies or furniture companies that they do the deliveries for show up at the warehouse as a meet and greet and check things over and have a, one-to-one conversation about how can you improve, what can you do, how can you make sure that we have all your business. And it made me realize, boy, like I'm back to chapter one. Like I'm in there early in the mornings in the dispatch, talking to the guys, and I love it. I really missed it. I miss the smiles of the guys knowing that I have their back, they have my back, and we're here as a family to make sure that we are growing. And they all are on the same vision. It's been set in stone. I've had conversations with each one of the employees that work on the trucks to say, this is my goal, this is my vision. Are you with me or are you not? Because hey, guess what? Like we're taking over. So
And
I only want team players.
That's where I think you're most critical in this, right? I think if you are going to have to go back in chapters, I wouldn't consider this chapter one. But if you do have to go back in chapters, in my opinion, this is the most worthwhile time to go back in chapters, right? Because you're going to get to have Ellis understand who you are and who they're working for. Those intimate moments, that brotherhood bond, that what are they buying into? What is Ellis with Mark? Right. And that's what you got to sell a lot of these. And hey, I'm really successful. It's a lot more stress-free over here because we do these systems. And then of course, Mark, I'm going to challenge you to see what kind of cohesion can you do? What kind of, if you don't have that position here, is it another hire? Is it Mark going back a few chapters, or do you already have somebody to maybe promote over to as close as they are?
Well, when I look at their operation, which is only, a 3-4 truck operation, probably running 2 or 3 trucks a day, I almost had to look at my bracelet, which is, what would Brian Slater do? And it dawned on me going, I could just see him in my head.
Remember, Patrick might call us.
Oh, that's right. Yes.
The great one, the goat.
The great one.
Yeah.
The goat. I thought, what would the goat say to me if I said to him, I really want to keep on this operations manager that's getting paid very well as he's trying to only dispatch like 2 or 3 trucks a day. You probably tell me, go take a hike and get your ass in that chair and go figure it out and make sure that it's running smoothly. So
Put the
It was
systems
great.
in place and get right out of that
That's right.
chair, is what he'd tell you too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Super exciting times. I'm jazzed. But and this is kind of where it raises on the topic of
And how
what we
far are they
want to
from each
discuss
other
here.
again? How many miles are office to office?
Well, I'd probably stay there about 15, 20 miles away from each other. And but in location wise, Ellis is about an 8-minute drive from my house.
Nice.
And Salmons is about a 40-minute drive from my house.
Nice.
So it really cohesively works really well. They're both part of the Atlas Van Line family. A lot of clients that talk to say, wow, this is amazing. We use Salmons for X, we use Ellis for O, so it's fantastic. I'm really excited to see how it's going to pan out and work out. So it's great. But it was interesting because when I walk into my warehouse at Salmons and we think of how storage can make it or break it for you, and hopefully make it, right? It is as clean as a whistle. You could have food, you could eat food off the floor. Like my warehouse manager, everything is super clean, it's tidy, it's organized, you know where everything is. Things, and I love his OCD personality. When I walk into Alice, it's, all right, how are we gonna make this work? A couple things I noticed: guys walking too far to grab moving supplies in the morning. How much time is that taking for them to go from the loading dock to the moving supplies and back again? How can we reorganize this so they're more efficient? How are we doing with supplies? How are we doing with 4-wheelers, 2-wheelers? How are we doing with all the equipment, right? Like, how can we make this warehouse more efficient to maximize profit and to maximize the guys when they're showing up to either offload, to load up a shipment, to get in, to get out? How do you maximize this? And I want to listen to Steven on how was your story on getting into storage? 'Cause a lot of times we just start, hey, we got a truck, we got 2 trucks, you kind of wait it out. It's that nervousness of, hey, I think I'm ready for a warehouse. Let's maybe look at this small warehouse. In the areas that you're in, you're like, oh, this is perfect. And then you get the warehouse, you realize it's only got 16-foot ceiling, so you can't even double
Can't get
stack
high,
barely.
yeah.
Before we ever started using a moving CRM, someone asked me, could you 10x what you're doing right now with the current systems and processes you have in place? And I said no. And so he was like, well, then you need to just pull the trigger on the software. And then I saw Smart Moving and it was game over.
Austin joined thousands of moving owners on Smart Moving in 2021. Since then, he's more than doubled his business.
And I always compare Smart Moving to Apple products. It's just so simple, so easy to use. And that's really what's allowed my team to scale and now have 2 branches. And last year we scaled Central Coast Moving over 50% growth.
If you're ready to turn your moving company into a machine that drives profit, not chaos, try Smart Moving.
What was your take? Like, tell me a little bit about how you got into the storage world.
Well, I started broke, so with no trucks. It's an interesting story. I learned the hard way. As I always say, I ran through a wall and then turned around, brushed up all the stuff. Took a couple of days to rest my shoulder and then built a door and said, this is how we should do this. That's right. But I started, I had no office, and then I moved to another small office, and then another small office next to a storage unit. Then a bocce ball court, and then Atlanta in a retail store, right? And so I completely avoided the warehouse. I was just however I can expand and grow. And so I guess it was a few years in, I was probably a little over $1 million when I got an office, 1.5, I'd say, in that area. I got an office that had a little bit of warehouse. And we started charging for storage, and we thought we were going to tie it off with caution tape, which is probably a lot of people are probably laughing with me right now. Expensive lesson. I learned in that brigade because people had storage for a while and you got movers coming in and out, and no, they wouldn't take things, but they would see something cool and play with it, and it'll end up in somebody else's playpen. Yeah. And so, and as we all know in the moving industry, if a customer receives something in the one item that's not theirs, they're wondering where everything of theirs is. They're all of a sudden not trusting you whatsoever. So that's a really important thing. So we started no vaults. I bought a small warehouse, or I rented a small warehouse, built it up, made it real nice, got a lot of renovations, and boom, we were overgrown. Probably had like maybe 5 to 7 clients in there. So so we were overgrown just like that. No dock space. So I was in a lease, and I had to deal with what the landlord had as my move. You know, you're at the mercy of that lease and that landlord. It's hard to get out of leases. And so we expanded in a small office, and then there was no, so we were able to get some warehousing in there, and I filled that up very fast. The same way, same problems, no vaults. Then I ordered some vaults, and I ordered a bulk load of vaults because I started to get into restoration, and storage is a big opportunity when you're in restoration. And so here's how I did at that point with no money. No money to get a big warehouse space, worried about it, overthinking it, sleepless year. What am I going to do? Is that a big risk to take on this big lease? I already have another lease. I contacted a what they call a fulfillment company. There's one in every city. They're often small. There's not a big major. There are, but they're not going to deal with us. You're looking for a mom and pop fulfillment company, right? And I contacted that fulfillment company, and what they do is a lot of cross-docking and staffing. They're really warehousing. So if like somebody's storing pallets, so they're doing temporary storage space, and sometimes they're fulfilling orders. So they get orders in bulk, and they have staffers separate it, and then a truck comes to pick up things from their facility. So they're always wanting to add space. So they're coming, going in space. So I contacted the fulfillment company, and I explained, hey, man, I got these wooden vaults. I got these wooden boxes, man. You wouldn't believe this. All right. And I'm wanting to get a rate from you of how much you would charge me every time I come to this dock and you have to build some, how much it would be monthly once you put them away, and then how much it would be after you pull them if I need the orders and you break them down. And so he has, I'm dealing with, and you as at Mark and you and I know, we're dealing with some higher rates in warehouse space when you're dealing with smaller. But when you start getting into a very, very large one like fulfillment is, they have completely different numbers. So I was getting, if I remember right, like $25 a month per vault I was having to pay. And then it was like $20 per vault build up, $20 per vault breakdown. So I was able to add to my customers. Yeah, that was a great rate. I was able to add to my customers, and I was able to fill up that fulfillment company till I said, man, I can pay for my big warehouse I'm wanting. And he knew that the whole way. It didn't make it any easier when I pulled out all those vaults, though. But he knew that was the plan. He was not happy when I was like, hey, I'm taking those 200 vaults out of there and getting this big warehouse space. But that's how I was able to build on somebody else's warehouse. If I go back in time too, I would say contact the big league movers in your city. Contact sounds. We have warehouse space that is probably bigger than what you can get on the lease. And I would give another moving company quickly a discounted rate on our storage. Not maybe as good as it was with fulfillment back in the day for me, but we can both make some money off that storage, and then you can tell me to kick dirt at some point and go get your own warehouse. But that's how I would recommend everybody that doesn't have much capital is contacting them. Don't do the caution tape, first of all. That was expensive and very embarrassing for some of those customers, because somebody that's in there for multiple years, that's pretty tough to be paying that much over years, and that customer saying some of my stuff's gone somewhere else. So never do the caution tape. Get the vaults. They're worth the separation. There's a reason we all have those wooden vaults. I went through a lot there, but that was kind of my story on that side of how I got into the storage world.
I love the fulfillment idea. That's fantastic.
Being found on the second page of Google is literally like having a billboard in the middle of the desert. Your mama ain't gonna see it. No one's gonna see it. You're on the second page of Google. No one's gonna call. No one's gonna book. Here is the deal. If your business is not ranking on the top of Google, that means your competitors are going to be stealing your customers every single day. So at Rotate Digital, we don't play any guessing games. We use data-driven SEO strategies to make sure Google finds you first so that these Google searches turn into your customers, not your competitors' customers. How do we do it? We do it through AI-driven keyword optimization, exclusive blog networks, backlinking strategies, and honestly, the secret stuff, the proprietary lead attribution software. So what do you get as a result? You get not only good marketing, but now you get clarity into what is bringing you more revenue. So if that's something you want to do, you want to make sure your leads find you and not your competition, go ahead and go to rotatedigital.com, schedule a call, and we'll help you take your business to the top of Google.
If you're considering Snowball, just do it.
Snowball creates done-for-you referral programs for moving companies so you can turn happy customers into new revenue without lifting a finger. And the results speak for themselves.
In less than a year, we've collected over 2,000 referrals.
We generated over $200,000 of revenue that cost about $5,000 to do it.
I believe we have 4 or 5 the very first day.
The companies winning with Snowball are the ones that already care about their customers. We just help turn that into new business through human outreach and customer nurturing.
Snowball is part of the arsenal of tools that I recommend to my clients because it works.
You start with storage. You got a customer that wants to go into storage. My best advice for anybody is to make sure you have a full inventory of those items going into storage, because we get it. Okay. You don't have enough storage vaults, or you haven't purchased any storage vaults. You want to bring it into the warehouse. Caution tape, big no-no. Get some wardrobe boxes or some tall cardboard and build some blocking areas, or build a couple 2x4 like along a wall with some plywood and build some walls up. And then at least have a couple wardrobe boxes or large flattened boxes that go across with the customer's name and everything else. But your biggest blessing is to make sure that when you are taking the items out of your truck, you are making sure that everything's been inventoried and you have a list. You have that away. And when things are going back out, you have a list. And make sure that, especially if it's just sitting on the floor, that everything is pad wrapped and or shrink wrapped and protected, because just because you just threw a couple pads over top or you laid it down, it was just shrink wrapped. I see it all the time. Beige couches. You just shrink wrapped it. You're putting it in the warehouse. Well, guess what? Right by the feet and along that line of the fabric, that all gets dusty and that all gets dirty. And so if you're not making sure that everything is properly packaged, so go get some sofa bags. Make sure, like, have these extra costs as you're trying to get the storage set up, but get on storage vaults. You can probably do searches online and to reach out to some larger moving companies that have maybe like 10 old ones that they're just waiting to give away. And you can probably get a great deal. $25, maybe $50 a storage vault. I mean, plywood and wood is expensive right now. So if you can get a good deal on some storage vaults, suck it up, get some, maybe fix it up. At least you have something.
Yeah. A lot of van lines like yourself, you know this, they'll get a large project that requires a lot of vaults, and that project will be done. And instead of storing all that and just stacking them up, they'll sell them. And so check around for some used vaults. I mean, they're out there. Just cold call some moving companies. I get calls up. I was checking last week, just, hey, do you have any storage vaults? I'm wanting to buy 20. Call around, but there's a lot of opportunity. Wood is very expensive, but I also want to share, you touched on a little point about the dustiness, but you and I both work with restoration companies, and we both love those warehouse jobs, particularly the ones that aren't raised off the floor, right? There's a reason most warehouses and these vaults are off the ground, and it's not just the forks. It's for when a warehouse pipe busts and it freezes. Yeah, the water, you're saving yourself a lot of product if you have that raised just a little bit off the ground.
When you are looking at a warehouse, the best warehouses you can ever find will start at 24 to 26 feet in height. If you can find a warehouse that's 32 feet in height, you are golden.
You want to stack pretty high.
Remember this advice. You do not pay for the air. It's something that was taught to me 20 years ago. When you were renting out a warehouse, they're not charging you for the air and the empty space above. You're paying for the ground. So if you can stack 2 high or 3 high, now that square footage is making 3 times the amount it should be making compared to just having one storage vault at the bottom. So that's huge. I also, when it comes, yeah,
I want to pick your brain a little bit, just kind of talking to the topic. We got to the fulfillment. Now we're kind of going over, we're getting in the stage of buying the vaults, right? Tell me about some of your leases and lessons you've learned over time. You've dealt with multiple companies now with leases, and adopting leases and changing leases. Tell us about what you've learned or what you would look for if these moving companies are starting to get their first lease. Expansion being one, right? This is kind of went through my lesson is what happens if you do grow? Does this landlord have other properties that you can upgrade?
100%.
Is there something next door? Right.
If I'm looking at certain warehouses, look at the truck, right? So if I'm looking at a warehouse space, I want to know if I'm growing and I need to buy or lease several more trucks, do they have enough parking spaces for me? I never would
Number
go with
uno. Number uno.
number
That's
uno.
right.
I will never go with I'll never go with a warehouse that just has grade level loading docks. Don't. It's not worth it. You know what? Like, even if the price is great, you want a loading dock. It's for looking at the vision and looking at the bigger picture. You do. You don't want guys. You don't want to be backing up that truck and lowering your tailgate all the time up and down or putting the ramps out. Like, it's just it's really.
And not even to mention that the weather. So you're going to be exterior a little bit in that same thing, or you're going to invest in something to go over. But if you don't have that dock door, you're going to get some stuff wet that you don't want to get wet. And you're going to have guys working in slick rain. Yeah.
Just like you even said about the storage vaults, right? Now, let's say you don't have that loading dock door doesn't have a good, or not, the grade level door does not have good rubberized on the base, and you have a downpour, you have heavy rain, like that water seeping in. So being, 4 feet off the ground with a loading dock, you at least are avoiding any type of flood that could happen. Snowfall, right? What about that heavy snowfall? Do you really want to be backing up to your door and now having to shovel 3 feet of snow in front of the door when the guys are trying to get out in the morning? Like, just worry about the pathway. So there's all those kind of things. So then we get down to the warehouse. So like, I remember when I first got started, I kind of did something similar to yours.
Definitely want dock doors. I've lost. I'm gonna chime in on that. I've lost the counts because I didn't have enough dock doors. Big opportunities. Yeah, big opportunities because there's not enough dock doors. So parking's huge, but also on dock doors, do you have trucks that you're going to work on a lot? You're going to want to drive in bay, right? And so those are some things that you don't want to limit yourself. You want to think about the end of the lease and where your goals are. And is this place going to work for me? Or work out a shorter lease?
Totally. I love the 2 docks, 1 grade level, right? And that grade level is big enough that I can hopefully drive in a truck or at least a panel van, right? So especially if I'm thinking long distance shippings, maybe you're going to be shipping some cars, you can at least drive it in there. You can offer storage. Like, there's so many different options that you can have on there. Look, at least in BC, they typically always want you to sign on a 5-year lease.
That's similar here. That's similar here.
I mean, it's pretty standard. If you can,
especially if they're putting money in it. If they're putting money in it, if you're asking them to do make that drive-in door bigger and stuff like that, they're gonna lock you into 5.
There's so many ways to skin a cat when it comes down to finding warehouse spaces. There is, like you said, go if you have already a network of moving company owners that you talk to within your community. And I've always thought about wanting to do this, a very WeWork for moving companies. So you get you find a location that's maybe got 100,000 square feet or 50,000 square feet, whatever you can do. Let's say you have 10 dock doors and you have an office and it's set up for one thing. You can go in with like 5 other moving companies and say, hey, listen, okay, or go in with yourself, depending on, or talk to someone. But you could go in, set up the boardroom, the office, the reception as a standard. Hey, listen, this is just for everybody. It's generalized. It could be set up as a call center. set answering all the phone calls for all the different moving companies. And then each moving company now has 2,000 or 3,000 square feet and a dock, depending on the size that they need. That would be my WeWork answer. But for me, if you are a small moving company and you're looking for some space, go talk to the big guys. I'm pretty sure they always have usually about 2,000 to 3,000 square feet, maybe, or even 1,000 square feet to get you started, to at least get you started so that you have somewhere to store 5 or 10 storage vaults. Because then, once you fill those up, that should generate at least somewhere between 1,000 to 2,000 a month. So then you can start looking at a larger warehouse. Now, I did that with a storage company that offered, it was like a mini storage. And I said, okay, give me your rates. I'm going to lock off, 10 storage units and give you your best rates based on this and subcontract them out. And then if we had a storage customer, that's who we bring it out to. And then once I knew those 10 were filled, that's when I started looking at a warehouse. Now I jumped from that automatically to an 8,000 square foot warehouse that at least had a 1 grade level and it had 2 loading docks. And I remember the first day I walked in this warehouse going like, holy shit, how am I going to fill this? Because now I have a much more expensive rent to pay, and we want to make sure we had enough for the trucks and
warehouse
access
is
and
such a
everything
strange animal. It's like you make money when it's full, but then you have the itch to buy more once you fill it up. It's a little bit of a beast.
For sure. And I love that theory. And I've had a couple conversations with other moving companies. I think one was Chris Sweet the other day when we talked from Swamp Rabbit, which is, you want to get the big warehouse because to me, it gives you the drive to want to fill it.
Yep. You walk.
If I know I only have, if I only got like a 2,000 square foot warehouse and I know that the 10 storage vaults is going to pay for the storage, I don't have that much drive to make sure that I'm pushing for storage. I'm just back to focusing on, those local moves or maybe some deliveries or anything else. If I know that I have a big, huge warehouse and a big payment that I got to pay every month, I want to make sure that that's being taken care of. And one of the best advices that were given to me from a mentor of mine said, you want your warehouse to pay for your office staff and your sales staff. So if you add up how many office staff you have per month and what you pay your sales staff for commission on average, let's say that works out to be, I don't know, let's just say $10,000 extra a month. And my storage costs me let's say 5,000, right? They could pay $5,000 a month for my storage. I want to make sure my warehouse is generating $15,000 worth of storage per month. That's my goal. And if I can make that as my goal, you're laughing because now you're saving so much on those other expenses on the admin fees.
I think both of us can share our winters are a hell of a lot less stressful because of storage. It's such a big cash flow difference on how we run our businesses from before not having storage. It was it pays a lot of the bills, like you said. You have those goals, but it helps pay when you don't. I mean, it's the only recurring revenue that's standard in the moving industry.
For sure. And I'm typically looking at it going, if we get down to the winter months, we all know it, we've all seen it. If I get down to the winter months and I have to start going, okay, guys and gals, we're going to have to cut back hours. We're not as busy. But if I'm making enough for storage, I can keep them full time, how great of a leader are you? Right? Like how big of a push is that? And that, hey, listen, if you have to drop your storage, if you have to give a couple of discounts, if you want to offer, push that. But listen, it's winter time. What is everybody doing with their summer tires? Where are they going to store it? Hey, bring your 4 summer tires in. We're going to charge you $25 a pallet.
Yeah.
To store it.
If you have the warehouse now,
3 months.
It's money you don't have.
Exactly. Right. So find alternatives.
I've found
use things
so much
like
weird
ChatGPT
stuff.
to get some ideas.
Like, hey, I've stored Christmas trees.
For sure. Why not?
They got to go somewhere. They got to go somewhere in the city, right? Somebody's got to be storing those things. So there's ways to get extra storage to fill that thing and get creative on it. It's really nice to have that option on that side. And I have seen some WeWorks, not particularly just for moving companies, but for warehousing popping up. I don't know how well they're doing, but I've seen some people that are doing that in cities, at least in the U.S.
Nice.
is they're getting a big warehouse with dock space and they're partitioning it out, and people can expand and expand and expand. They have like a common area, that you could work from while you're there.
Are you a mover looking to make an impact? Discover Moving Letters AI and join the ML Plus Club today. Elevate your customer engagement with the personal touch of handwritten letters.
If you want to take your company to that next level, it's the only way to subscribe. If you're doing anything but Moving Letters AI, you need to get on it. So it's going to take your business to that next level. You're going to see an increase in that revenue. Let's go.
I highly recommend using this company. They're amazing to work with. They even send you an email on how much work they're producing for you.
Don't miss out. Join the revolution and start making moves that matter.
Put a golden damn ticket in there with Moving Letters AI.
So for me, when I'm looking at a warehouse and I see the vision, I see the goal of that warehouse that I want to fill, I'm going to use easy numbers. I'm looking at like a 10,000 square foot warehouse. I found the docks. I found everything else. The next thing is it a freestanding building that has lots of space for parking? Am I paying for all of that parking? Because sometimes you want to make sure you're checking that lease that they're not charging you for yard space.
Yeah.
If you find a big enough yard space, guess what you can do?
Rent that out.
You can go rent that out. You can go get some mobile storage containers and stack that too high. And you can expand that outside against the walls.
Yeah. Parking is a big thing. Good point in the negotiation. As if you're in a shared lot with others, I don't care if they're like, oh no, it's just common routes. You get guaranteed parking as much as you can in that negotiation.
And as many spots as possible.
You can put drop trailers out there. You can use it in a lot of ways.
The next big thing that I'm looking at is who are my neighbors? So if I see other industrial companies that are within the same complex, if I'm in a complex now with multiple guys, the biggest thing I want to let that landlord know right up with that is, hey, listen, I'm probably looking at expanding. So I would love to be first priority when someone gives notice that I can come and visit that warehouse. So at least you can take a look. I know at Salmon's, we had a spot that opened up. I was the first person to call. And they called me up and says, hey, this is what's happening. This is what's going on. And then if they're like, yeah, for sure. Maybe they're just like some type of private equity firm that owns the building. They have some type of development company that manages it, or some type of property management company that handles it. And there's constant turnover and you're always getting some new name that you have to report to. Then show up with a box of cookies or show up with some lunch to your neighbors and introduce yourself and make a relationship. Do you know how many times a forklift breaks down in your warehouse and you might have to go to your next door neighbors and say, hey, do you mind if I use your forklift for 10 minutes because I got to go do this? And every time I usually go to the warehouseman and I go, here's $20, here's $50. Thanks so much for your help. I really appreciate you helping me out on this one. Become friends with your neighbors. And then you let them know, hey, listen, if you plan on leaving, or like, how long's your lease? And ask them, right? How long have you been here? You
get right a refusal on that space, just in case. I had a neighbor, didn't know this, wouldn't have known this, right? But man, we hit, we were carrying a vault, and vault hit the AC unit at one of my buildings before, and the gas went off. Fire department was there. I got to give a shout out to my brother's plumbing company. They were there before the fire department, and the fire department was fast. So shout out on that. That was a pretty impressive moment. However, the neighbor is the one who has the gas line. And so I had to get a hold of, thankfully that guy we connected, we gave each other our cell phone because no employee was answering at this company. This is after hours. Right. This is after normal 9 to 5. And I got a hold of the owner, made some calls, and we were able to get some people over there quickly. But I had no clue and wouldn't have known that wall between us and them, he had the gas on the other side, the way to turn it off if this emergency happens. So knowing those neighbors is crucial. I don't think there's any neighbors that love being neighbors to a moving company, at least in my experience. So you want to bring those donuts. You want to be friends. I always let them know the perks of us. Hey guys, if you have crime here before, from after work to 10 p.m., that's probably going to go away because we're moving. We're coming in and out. our trucks are coming in and out. Our people are in the parking lot. We're bringing awareness. So I'm trying to give them the positives because we know the negatives, right? Of being next to a mover. And so, yeah, get a warm, fuzzy feeling with them, because the worst thing you want too is to have a rivalry with your neighbor. That's not fun either. In moving companies, we tend to get in those pretty quickly.
Oh, for sure. I think the other thing too is really now, especially with AI, take that lease agreement, run it through ChatGPT, give it a prompt. I'm looking to lease this company, act like a professional, entrepreneur that's
Look out for
analyzing
me.
warehouses.
Yeah.
Look out for me. Can you analyze this and make sure that I know exactly what all my costs are, and can you give me a breakdown of exactly what I'd be looking at paying per month? Because a lot of times you think, oh wow, they only want to charge me $10,000 per month. This is fantastic. This is awesome.
Remember we all learned about the comps or whatever the next year.
Oh, for sure.
CAM
for
charges,
sure.
right? CAM charge.
Yeah.
Remember that lesson? What is this?
Common property charges, right? Next thing you know, you're
remember
paying
that
for
after
the
the first
elevator
year.
and the warehouse, or some kind of issue that happened down four units down there, and you go, what the hell's going on here, right? So, yeah.
Ooh,
so
I
that's
got another one I'm
thinking.
thinking about. If we're just going through pain points of leases, is your AC units. Those commercial units aren't like your one at home. They're way more than $10,000, right? And so make sure you have a limit. Yeah, they're gonna say, hey, you need to take care of this and have a contract on it, but make sure you have anything over $2K or something is on them. Same thing with the roof.
So I learned the hard way. Our AC went out. It was probably a 30-year-old unit. I hadn't been there that long.
Yep.
And so I go to them, well, aren't you guys going to replace this? And they said, well, no, that's part of yours. And I said, okay, what the bill is about $42,000. So when I leave this warehouse, do I get to take them with me since I purchased them? And of course they had no answer, but it's one of those things you want to, had I known prior, or had I known like this could have came up, you really want to sit down and write all the different things that you can think about that could go wrong. And so you can bring this up, right? How's the access for internet? Is the cabling up to date? Like, how's the lighting? A lot of the times we're just so excited to get into the warehouse that we don't think about all these little things. Hey, if I need an electrician to come in to set up some new plugs or to update this lighting, is that covered, right? If I paint the offices and fix this up, is that allowed? Do I have to bring it back to the original color? Obviously, if you're not going with something extreme, what are my guidelines? And then also, I always try and put in my leases with the option to renew. So it's a 5-year lease with an option to renew for another 5 years. So my option, because you don't want to sign something up and then they turn around and go, oh, sorry, yeah, it was only for 5 years.
Yeah,
only for 3 years. You want to make sure that you have that option to say, hey, no, I want to stay here for a couple more years.
And you try to say, go ahead and negotiate the rate if that happens, or you have market value, because you don't want your landlord forcing you out and just saying, okay, pay double because they can get you to leave either one way or another with a new lease, right?
100%.
Landlord
I find
too
6
is a good
months.
topic.
Yeah, well, 6 months before your lease is up, you should already be having a meeting with them to negotiate rates and make sure that the rates are, in the market standards and they're not trying to gouge you.
I want to talk about landlords, because
sure.
And if somebody's new that hadn't had experience in this, I'm not talking about Avison Young. I'm not talking about CBRE. I'm not talking about the property managers the landlords have hired to manage the property. You want, this is a 7-year, 5-year relationship, depending on what you're signed up for. You want to have a reference check on another property that landlord owns, not the property management who has thousands, because they could fire that property management company tomorrow, right after you sign the lease. So you want to get a reference check. Guys, I've had big New Yorkers, sorry for our New York listeners, but big New York firms that if they thought a whiff of it, not paying customer fast every month, never late, they're sending me lawyer letters to my home and office if they thought I was late one time. right? That's not the relationship you want with your landlord. That puts you in
Not
a
at all.
high pressure situation. And so
That's actually great. I
yeah.
never thought about doing that type of search. So that's fantastic. That's great advice, Steve.
Yeah, and my current landlords, I didn't know this. This is another hard lesson I should have learned from the first one.
We recently hired Ready Rolls to help us with hiring some offshore help, some VAs, and they've done an amazing job. They found the perfect candidate for our company. Not only that, they helped answer the questions that we had about the process. Initially, hiring a VA can be a bit intimidating, but they answered all the questions. It's been an amazing experience. Our VA has been a huge part of our success thus far. We're actually in the process of hiring a few more right now. Definitely see them as being a key part of our growth and reaching our goals in 2025. And the game changer for our company, I'm confident to be a game changer.
Visit ReadyRolls.com. There is now a better way to scale.
So now listen for to be I've learned twice is I have a landlord that lives in China. And China, I've learned that Chinese negotiate a little differently. They're not as they don't really care about what that paper says. So I signed up for what I thought was a big property management company that I listed. Didn't do my homework. Didn't really see the signs from the New York thing. Just thought that was a one-off. And this company is fired 30 days into this, and I'm dealing with a guy, I can't pronounce his name, in a different time zone, and he just says no to everything that's already in contract. So do it. Coming from me in my experience right now, because I'm dealing with that landlord. Patrick is dealing with that landlord, and we're working with each other. I put a lot of money in his building that I'm not supposed to right now. And so just learn to do that. Don't fall in love with the building over the problems that it could bring you. Right. So do your research just like they're researching you.
I love it. Listen, for all those that are listening, I hope this has been informational. Do you like what you're learning here when it comes down to storage? Because we want to bring this into another part. We want to give you a part 2 so that we can go in depth. This should get you an idea of what to look for when you're prepared and you're ready to get into storage. But we want to look at how do we optimize our storage? How can we make sure that we're being efficient in our layouts? How we're being efficient in
stacking,
in finding the clients, and in stacking, so that you can make the most amount of profit in storage. We want to know from you. Can you let us know in the comments? Share with us. If you want to know more about storage, let us know. And we're going to set up a part 2 for this one.
I will get a special guest that's just dominated storage on this.
Exactly. I got a couple in mind that I'm thinking in my head already that we've reached out to. So for all those that are listening, we appreciate it. Hope you gained some good advice on storage. Get your foot in the door if you're ready. If you have any other questions with regards to leases, landlords, looking for warehousing, always shoot us a message. We'd love to know. We'd love to be able to help out to you. And until next time, stay Movified.